Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm here with a book haul. This book haul is for my third visit to Second Time Books in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. It has become one of my favorite used bookstores. I really enjoy going there, and they have such an outstanding collection. Their great specialties are science fiction, fantasy, and historical nonfiction of all kinds. But they also have a lot of things that you would not find in several other bookstores. I happened to buy 12 books. I had many more with me, but I felt the need to be a little bit conservative, but 12 books is still a lot. Nevertheless, I highly encourage you to check them out when you get the opportunity. And now let's check out the books that I got. The first one that I got was on a color dot discount, where different color, if there was a certain color dot, it cost this much money. Yeah, and it ranged from $1 to $4 or $1 to $5. But the first one was Mao Zedong by Jonathan Spence. It seems like it is a general biography, and the thing that catches my attention with Mao Zedong is that he is the world leader that has killed more of his own people than any other leader, and he leads in a landslide over Stalin and Hitler and everybody else too, which it's often overlooked because Hitler, of course, was known for the Holocaust and his termination of all non-Aryan people, but most specifically Jewish people. And Stalin was known for his paranoia and his gulags, but Mao Zedong, people know him. They are familiar with him as a leader and his place in history, but they overlook the fact that he killed many of his own people. Next thing that I got is Jesus Through the Centuries by Jaroslav Pelikan. And this is Jesus Through the Centuries, his place in the history of culture, which explores the way that Christianity and society viewed Jesus from throughout his life, at the time of his crucifixion, and then beyond that, because so much transition has taken place between the separation of the sects and the Christian holidays, because Christmas was actually declared as such centuries after Jesus' death. It's very much believed that he was born during a different month of the year. But this is something I'm really fascinated about, and I'm really intrigued to check this out. Next thing that I got didn't have a book cover, but the topic was interesting to me, and that is Andrew Johnson, President on Trial by Milton Lomask. And this pretty much has to do with Andrew Johnson's impeachment. He was the very first president to be impeached. He succeeded Abraham Lincoln, served from 1865 to 1869. But impeachment is just the act of, is just the declaration of impeachment. You have to get approval from, Congress has to vote on that, and Andrew Johnson was saved by one vote. The only other president to be impeached was Bill Clinton, but with him it was very partisan, where the Democrats voted in favor of keeping him, the Republicans in favor of impeaching him, and there wasn't enough votes to send him out of office. Next thing that I got, it caught my attention on all three visits, and now is the time that I decided to pick it up, and that is Warsaw, 1944, Hitler, Himmler, and the Warsaw Uprising by Alexandra, Richie. And this is pretty much the state of Warsaw, Poland. In 1944, Poland was still occupied by the Germans, and they frequently would put their concentration camps in Poland, most notably Auschwitz and Buchenwald. But Warsaw had pretty much been Warsaw was basically trashed at that point in time, and it was really tragic. I'm really interested to see the particular point of view, and as it says here, it was published at $40, and I paid $14.95 for it, and it is in pretty much new condition. Next thing that I got is Rebel Yell, The Violence, Passion, and Redemption of Stonewall Jackson by S.C. Gwynne. This caught my attention because I'm really interested to learn more about Stonewall Jackson. I did a report on him when I was in 5th grade. I took a U.S. history class. And Stonewall Jackson was key to the Confederates. He was probably their most valuable general. He was crucial in the Battle of Chancellorsville. That was probably their greatest victory of the Union, but it was also the battle where Stonewall Jackson was shot by one of his own men, and it led to his death. And after that, the Union really started to pick up and ultimately won the war. But he was definitely I think he was probably he was, for the Confederates, by far the most crucial person in the war. But overall, he could have been among the most crucial. On the topic of Civil War generals, next one that I got was Jed Stuart, The Last Cavalier by Burke Davis. Jed Stuart was another a Confederate general. He was active throughout the war. He picked up more after Stonewall Jackson's death, but he himself was killed in battle as well at a very young age. And the last nonfiction book that I got was Steward Lincoln's Indispensable Man by Walter Stahr. He also wrote John Jay, which William Seward was the Secretary of State to Abraham Lincoln, and Lincoln was known for not just being a remarkable president, but he also had a remarkable cabinet. And Seward was one of the most important among them. Seward was responsible for making that purchase of Alaska from Russia as well. And I'll be really interested to learn a bit more about him. And now we're moving on to the fiction books. I got 5 of them, and they really caught my attention. The first one that I got is Blue World by Robert McCammon, or Robert R. McCammon. as the header says. I'm really interested in expanding my collection of his works. I have a nice batch of them, but the ones that you really see in the stores is A Boy's Life, sometimes you'll see Swan Song, and then some of his newer works. But Geoffrey Keaton wrote some really nice reviews about McCammon's novels, especially Usher's Passing really caught my attention, and when I find that, I'm going to purchase it. But I think that nevertheless, Blue World is something that I would like to get to. I picked up The Comedians by Greene. I have The Quiet American, which is probably going to be the first one that I read, but after reading the summary to this, this was the Greene novel that seemed the most interesting. I got Nobody True by James Herbert, because he's another horror writer that I would like to get into. I have picked up some of his works wherever I was able to find them, and he's a horror writer that I would like to expand on. And the last two books I got were both W. Somerset Maugham books. The first one is Of Human Bondage, which I got this for a booktube friend of mine and sent it through the book depository. But I wanted to read this for myself because it really sounded interesting, and the idea that the central character has a clubbed foot. It's an interesting thing to read about, because it's not something that I am familiar with in literature. And I also got the collected stories of W. Somerset Maugham, because I want to get a taste of him as a writer through samples of his writing, and that's easy to do with short works. Alrighty, this is my nonfiction that I got, and I think that sometimes I don't know if I'd ever be able to get to the fiction section with the great selection of nonfiction that they have. And here's my fiction. Thank you for tuning into this video. I will leave all of the information down below about secondhand books. And for now, keep reading.